Welcome back to East Coast DNA, back with another holiday episode. We're in the second half. I'm planning a 12 episode run to try to have full 12 episodes of Christmas. So bear with me, everyone. I'm trying to get through it. It's starting to wear me down a little bit,
Oh no.
but all of the music that's out there right now is keeping me in good spirits all the way through it too. So it's got that added bonus. So hopefully people that have been listening to these two have noticed that there's an accompanying playlist. So anyone that's looking for it, it's on YouTube and it's on Spotify. And anybody that was keen and was already going through the playlist may have noticed that I added some of the future guests before the episodes were released. So you may already be aware of Michelle Calder. So welcome, Michelle.
Hi.
So Michelle, you and I kind of have become acquainted as fans out there in the scene getting
Yeah.
around. We never seem to run into each other in the same location either. So that's a good sign that we're in a healthy music scene right now.
hmm Although we did run into each other a couple of times. I
Yeah.
ran into you at Music Week, um, seeing Andre, and yeah, we ran into each other outside of a bar there in Halifax, where we were both coming from other gigs. But
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I didn't originally know you as a musician, but when we met each other, you had told me. So
hmm
I have since then checked out some of your stuff online.
Oh, thanks.
And also a friend of the podcast has not been a guest yet, but Daryl Cameron has the Blue Acres music
Yeah.
group, and I've been following that group for quite some time. I don't know if I was there on day one or not, but I've definitely been following it for a while. It's a very nice music group, and
Mm.
I was pleased to see that you're also involved with those people as well over there.
Yeah, yeah, same. So I've been involved in that group for a while as well. Just kind of observing, trying to get my just foot in the door as a musician. But I connected mostly with Daryl over the summer. I
Hmm.
was looking for a guitarist to start doing some shows with, because the guitarist I was working with, his schedule got really busy, and he can do studio work, but he can't do live shows. So Daryl stepped up, and so I've done a few shows now with Daryl. He's really great. I like him.
And the previous guitarist you're working with, is that Scott?
Yeah, Scott McDonald.
Yes.
So he's recorded guitar on two of my release tracks as well. Uh,
Okay, so
yeah, on the very
maybe
first
we'll go
release. Yeah.
right back then, because you don't have a long discography when I look for it online, but I do have some questions for every one of the songs that you have out there.
Yeah.
So how long have you been playing? Like, you play guitar as well yourself, so you're a singer-songwriter,
hmm
full package, everything out online. You've got the covers that everybody wants to hear as well.
hmm
And you got the personal touch of it kind of being a journey where you're practicing some of that as well. And your originals are popping up all the way through it. So it's a nice healthy mix when you go just on YouTube alone,
Oh yeah.
and then focusing specifically on like targeted release type singles.
hmm
Flipping over to Spotify is probably where most people are going to look anyway.
hmm
So as you had indicated, 3 singles there. So were you doing this a long time before you started having digital releases, or did you jump right into it with modern technology?
So I started performing when I was 7.
Okay.
I got involved with like these really big musicals with the Just for Fun players, and so that's where I kind of got my my feet wet.
So
Uh,
just over 10 years then you've been playing.
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm full disclosure, I'm 40, so I'm late to the game getting into all
Mhm.
this. Um, so I spent a lot of time doing like church music. That's kind of where I got my big start. I spent 20 something years in a church choir. So that's where I learned how to use a mixer, how to, do sound, all that stuff. Um, but I had a baby young, just a month shy of 22. So I kind of took a step back, And instead of diving into my music career at that time, I never stopped singing, but I did family-friendly gigs. You'll notice on my YouTube, there's a lot of gigs where there's a little toddler dancing in the background. That's mine.
Shoot.
They were my backup dancer. But my kid just turned 18 in the spring. So I've been planning for the past 5 years, like chunks of like, okay, this year I'm going to accomplish these goals to get to where I want to go, and I finally this year was the year I was like, I'm going to release music the year that my kid graduates, so that I can start kind of building that repertoire up of recorded songs.
Outside of the music specifically,
Yeah,
as one parent to another,
yeah,
I will say that is something I've always had hobbies
yep,
and my own passions. So like
mhm,
I've always had my own interests,
yep.
but I didn't prepare for that.
No, I
Like
think
I I did it didn't I didn't consider that aspect, like that I
yeah,
needed to plan for and prepare for that time. I mean, I found stuff to do,
right,
but yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
You
good
can't
on you. That's
part of
that
the bar scene that way, so like I'm just meeting people. Like I just met yourself this
yeah,
year. Yeah, I'm just getting out there now. I met a lot of people through like all the family friendly events, but the bar scene was not. I wasn't there, so
well,
it's neat to kind of just jump in now and be
mhm.
like, hey everybody. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool, and my kid is also into performing, which is fun too. I passed
Oh,
down that gene.
any duets or anything?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah,
I'm
so
hoping
potential. There's something to keep an eye out. The reason for people to go click subscribe right now.
maybe, yeah. Under Michelle Calder's music over at YouTube, and I'm the singing goldsmith on Instagram.
I
Um,
was gonna ask you that you had a couple different variations too, because like your email was also different. And, like so,
Everything's a little different. I'm getting organized. So my email I've had since high school.
mhm.
Um, that's how that goes. But my singing goldsmith, I started that years ago, years and years ago. So my day job is I actually own a jewelry repair shop.
Oh
Uh,
yes.
yeah, so I have been running that for the past 15 years. It's yeah, so that's my bread and butter right there.
So
Um,
that's what you do. Like your full time career is between being an entrepreneur, or I don't know what do people say, small business owner nowadays,
owner, yeah.
and being an independent singer songwriter.
I also help run a nonprofit for the
Oh
homeless
wow.
population. Yeah.
There you go. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you. I'm a busy girl.
Yes, it sounds like it. So the 3 singles then,
Yeah.
you did have kind of a strategy in mind getting to that
Absolutely.
point,
Yeah.
and this past year was the year apparently.
This was the year. I also a year ago bought a van, like a touring van, because I was like, this is going to be the year that I'm going to go on tour. However, you know how like parenting, you can't really predict things.
Yeah.
So like a year ago, my kid brought home a friend who needed a place to go. So now I have two kids.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yes, so touring can wait
Mhm.
until it's settled, but I have my van and it kind of allows me that freedom to still kind of take weekend trips and yeah.
Well, I was actually wanted to ask you about the van. I had no way
Oh,
segue for it,
oh,
so
there you go. Yeah,
here we go.
my
So it is
beautiful.
that the van from the Stay video that you have
Yeah,
out there? Okay, and
that is my
so
girl. Yeah.
that's also kind of like your little rehearsal studio, because some of the videos they said where you're talking about practicing things and you're playing a few different covers,
Oh yeah, and I
that
write
that's
music
all
in there
recorded in there
and
too?
yeah, yeah,
Awesome. I'm
yeah.
a little jealous of that because 'cause I'm also looking for a vehicle right now, so
Uh, yeah, she's
I
not
remember the summer fondly all year. I know it's a short period of time where you could sleep out in something like that, but,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, she's
that's
amazing. And it's so neat because there's like a van community, right?
yeah.
So when I pulled up to giant stock this fall. Um, I didn't know anybody. I came completely alone, and
Mhm,
I just pulled up in front of this woman who had a van, and I was like, "Hey, do you mind if I park here?" And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, go ahead." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. Like I'm here by myself." She's like, "Oh, well, you're not by yourself anymore." And before I knew it, I had like 10 friends, and we all had this big van horseshoe because we were like van
mhm.
people. It's it's such a culture. I love it. It's yeah, it's cool.
And speaking of, the tickets are on sale for next year's Giant Stock,
Oh,
so a little plug for Andre and the boys, but
so
also
excited for that. I will be there.
also a little tip for yourself to go out and get your ticket now while you can.
Yes, the early bird tickets, they are much cheaper than the late bird
Yeah,
tickets.
yeah. So your singles that you released, the Stay that I already mentioned, I was aware of that after we met and I went to look. I'm like, okay, I'm familiar with this song. I
Yeah.
probably knew that one from Martin Hickey's
Yeah,
the East Coast
Top
Countdown, the
30.
top 30, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, from Martin Hickey. So yeah, so I that one made it into the top 30 countdown. Spent 7 weeks on the chart, and the highest we got was number 7, which is pretty cool.
Well, that's pretty good too. It's like right, that's your
Mm.
first one out.
Right? My very first single. So that one I put, I'd say, a lot more effort into like pushing that one and making sure that that got out places. The last two, I guess I've been conserving my effort elsewhere as I've got some other big projects coming. But yeah, the middle one actually was kind of just a last minute thing. We were like the second song,
Mhm.
we were filming a movie and like for the 48-hour film challenge.
Okay,
And
that's what I was gonna ask you about the short film reference there in that single.
yeah. So we were filming this movie. I got to do the lead in a femme fatale, which was super cool. I got to look super badass and just like shoot 'em up. But yeah, Brian Doucette and I were on set and we just wrote this song in between takes. And the next day filmed it at my home studio right here.
Awesome.
And yeah, and then I had yeah, had a couple of different people helping us with the mix and the master, and we just threw it all together in like a matter of days. It was really quick, but yeah, it
Is
was
that something I'm always curious because when I research, if I have enough time, I like to go and take as much content in as possible.
hmm
And when it's things like short films and
hmm
documentary projects, a lot of them are winning awards and they're being featured in festivals and everything. But then 3, 4 years later, like despite the age that we live in with all the digital technology,
hmm
you can't find it anywhere. Like, so is that one something that you can find online?
So the reason you can't find them is because as long as they are publicly available, they're not eligible for festivals.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yeah, so that's it. So Tracy McNeil, she was our director, editor, all the things extraordinaire. She's going to be entering the film in festivals this year or this coming
Oh,
year.
okay. So something for people to look out for.
Exactly. So it's
And
called Visions of Thee.
Visions of Thee, and that's why I couldn't find it when I
I
started
couldn't
looking
find
for
it.
it.
It's going to be in festivals.
And the single, if anyone's looking for that, is Snap.
Yeah, it's called Snap. It has actually the longest title possible.
Yeah, yeah, I did notice
It's
that too. That's how I
very
knew.
long because it includes like so Brian insisted that it had to be like snap and then in brackets most dangerous femme fatale and I was like okay well that's kind of long but then like for logistics we also needed that it was in the soundtrack for the movie so it's also like original soundtrack Visions of Thee so it's like ooh, super long.
It makes it very easy to find, and it's something that
Very
nobody's
distinctive.
gonna try to duplicate on you anyway, so it's very unique that
Why?
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if Brian's watching this, then hello to Brian, and you're gonna have to come back
Right.
on to maintain your East Coast status because I think you moved by this point.
I mean he did but he's from here he never
Yeah, I
left.
know. But we'll keep him on here so that people are aware he's still from here anyway.
Absolutely.
And so you have a lot of collaborations in your catalog that you have like on the YouTube videos as well.
Yeah.
So those are a lot of the same people that you're playing with
hmm
on these singles that we just talked about.
hmm
And now the third one is the Christmas single, or did I miss one in there?
No, the third one is the Christmas single that I just released on December 1st. So that's pretty exciting. And I've got a music video coming out December 15th as well.
Awesome. We'll have to add that into our YouTube list. So if anyone sees it in there now and it's not a music video, just wait and I'll swap them out when it's released.
I love that.
And so, what can you tell us about the single and not just about the song itself, but why did you choose to do a Christmas single? I mean, the timing's right.
hmm
Sounds like you had a plan ahead of time.
hmm
And based on the way that you're dressed, you obviously have some holiday spirit.
yes, this is the Abominable Snowman and
Yes, it's awesome.
it's the claymation. Yeah.
Yeah, Christmas
Um,
classics.
yeah, I mean, it's a Christmas special today, so I thought, it'd be festive.
Yes.
But yeah, so um so Christmas, I tend to be someone who gets really involved at Christmas time. I work for a caroling company, the East Coast Caroling Company for John Lindsay Botton. This is my 14th year working for him as a Christmas caroler. So Christmas carols have kind of become like my specialty in a sense. Like I
Mhm,
know a lot of Christmas carols. So I went through the list of stuff that's public domain, and just tried to find something that I didn't know that well, something that wasn't going to be super overplayed, but that I could kind of play around with. And I found this song that I was like, yeah, I think this resonates with me. So I mentioned that I'm part of a nonprofit group. So we are the Gated Community Association, and we run the Facebook group, the Gated Community Dash Copwood Ballfield. So we support a homeless encampment in Lower Sackville, where there's a bunch of tents and a ball field. And I spend a lot of time there. So that influence, I really it hit home.
mhm,
So I rewrote the words to kind of reflect the experiences there, and reflect the sentiment of like, we can help these guys, but we can't help everybody. And we really wish we could, but like
mhm.
it's kind of a call to action to help people who need help right now.
And I'm somewhat familiar with that situation just from media.
Yeah.
But being that media lately, like our news, is kind of hard to find sometimes, especially in some of the social channels.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to give like a little 2-minute overview of what that organization is actually trying to accomplish there?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, so basically we came together as random people. So there was this donation drive that someone decided to put on, and I was asked to sing. So I sang on the back of a flatbed truck with a generator and microphone, and in the middle of the encampment.
Mhm,
And when I was done, I was like, how can I help? So they had me sorting out bins. And at the end of the day, they're like, we need to make a Facebook post. Someone needs to ask for more help. And everyone looked at me, and I was like, okay. So I made the Facebook post. And then the next day, I was the only one who showed up. so, so so I just kept coming back because we needed help. And then I kept meeting more people, and was like, we just kept adding people into our merry band of helpers. And then we realized quickly we needed to start being able to accept funds to buy things that these people needed, like tents and tarps. But we couldn't, for financial, like tax reasons, accept money,
mhm,
um, unless we were registered somehow. So then we formed a nonprofit. So we made this nonprofit with six of us, and it was official on October the 17th. So we're just coming up pretty closely this month to 2 months, which is exciting. So what we do is we help people who have nowhere to go and nothing to their name, to stay warm and alive in the wintertime, basically. We provide them with tents and bedding. We have a meal train going, so there's hot meals every night between 5 and 6 p.m. We also work with them as advocates. So we help them find housing and jobs, and get themselves signed up for pharmacare. And um, we've gotten a few people into rehab. We help people just help themselves. And we're trying to do as much as we possibly can. But we've had to focus our efforts just on this one ball field.
mhm.
Otherwise, we get too stretched thin. We can't help everybody. So we're trying to encourage other people to kind of see what we're doing and do that other places, and just
Yeah.
expand that out. We would love to have that. Um, but it's scary. Like it, we had snow this week.
Mhm,
Here's how my day went yesterday. So I started my day by going to the hospital to retrieve one of our residents. His tent caved in on him, and he was injured. So he was okay to come back to the field, and by the time I got him back to the field, the other residents had his tent back up again. They'd propped it back up with boards, and he was okay. But then I spent the next few hours going through all the abandoned tents because people had evacuated because of the snow,
mhm.
and I had to take the hundreds of pounds of snow off of each one of them and check for bodies because you don't know. Did they make it out?
Yeah.
Not. And but this is the reality that we're living with right now
Hmm.
is that there just isn't enough shelter and it's not safe for them to be out there, but we're doing as best we can. And
Yeah, I see it even like I live in a smaller community, but I see it here.
yeah, it's
And
everywhere.
you
It
see it in the news, like,
absolutely.
there is coverage for Halifax. I
Mhm.
mean, I know that there's some political aspects to it, and everybody can only do so much.
Yeah.
So it's very commendable to see groups out there doing it. I did see too where there was just, the big fire that wiped out a bunch of tents there,
Absolutely.
and I did see another group had provided some, like, the fishing tents,
Hmm.
like Smelt Shack, like inflatable
Yep.
ones, and they had it all set up for them because 'cause they're winterized and
Yep.
gives them a little bit more. I think they're waterproof as well, so, like, I mean, that's
They are.
we it's either wet, cold, or just snowing regardless of the temperature, so, like,
This is our
you
climate.
need help.
Yeah.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
few more months, it's easy to forget about some of those struggles, but,
Yeah.
where it's been in the news so much, and I don't get political usually on the podcast, but
I try to keep it off the
way
page.
back when I started doing this, that was
Yeah.
one of the first topics that ever got brought up, and it's
Yeah.
still, like, it's right in my backyard, and it's still right in everybody's face, and the
Oh yeah.
problem's getting worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we
In the
definitely
2 months.
need people out there doing that.
Yeah, like just in the 2 months that I have been volunteering, like since the end of September, really.
Mhm.
Uh, when I started there, we had about an average of 31 residents, and now we have an average of about 47 residents.
Yeah.
So like it's going up at a pretty quick rate. Every couple of days we get a couple more residents and then maybe someone else will be moved on. Like we had
Yeah.
someone thankfully who their family member took them in today in New Brunswick. So like we put them on a bus and sent them to New Brunswick. So
Yeah.
there's one gone, but
Yeah.
tomorrow there might be three more. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I
yeah.
mean, I've had fears of being in that situation myself, like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, it hits close to home, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very commendable that you're doing that work, and hopefully more people out there are seeing ways to help in their own communities. Because to your
Yeah.
point, like, nobody can do all of it, not even the government, like, I mean, I'd love that I could just blame it on the government, but I mean, not they can't do everything either. There's too many of us out here right now, so
I know.
things will get better at some point, but everybody's struggling right now, so, yeah.
Absolutely. We were
Thank
just
you for doing that.
thank you. Yeah, we're like I said, we're just really hoping that that we'll put a call to action out there and other people will help step up.
And I kinda completely took you away from talking about the carolers group, which
Oh, that's
was a
okay.
tie-in with the charity thing, so if you
Yeah,
wanna bring it back in and talk about the carolers.
sure. Yeah, so I work for John Lindsay Button, who runs the East Coast Caroling Company. So it is a business, and we are paid to do what we do, but we also do occasional volunteer engagements as well. So like we're gonna have a tree lighting at the ball field, and the carolers are gonna come voluntarily to sing at that tree lighting. So there's that. And I've sung at Souls Harbor as well. So we do some volunteer work as well that way.
Mhm.
Uh, but uh, but yeah, it's such a neat experience getting to sing. Like I've been to two libraries in the past week. I've got three gigs on Saturday. Um, yep. So where will I be? I'll be in Sunnyside Mall. Then I'll be at the Evergreen stage, and then I will be at the Marriott, I think, outside in their courtyard in
Yeah?
Halifax. Yeah. Yeah. So we get around. Um, yeah, I'd say every year I sing roughly 20 to 25 gigs with the Christmas carolers between November and December.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have seen the name popping up here and there lately when I was looking at listings, and I've
Yeah.
pretty much been indoors. Like, I barely even know that there's any snow out there except for people complaining about it.
I love
So,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I've been doing a lot of these,
Hmm.
but yeah, I have seen the name popping up quite a bit, and
Yeah.
it's that time of year.
It is. It is. We usually get started like the first week of November. But there's close to 30 of us on staff. Um,
Mhm.
so the fun thing about caroling is you don't usually know who you're singing with until you get there. And sometimes you've met them for the first time in that moment. You're like, hi,
Wow.
nice to meet you, la la la. Um, like you just, it's very, yeah. So you have to read sheet music. So all
Yeah.
of us who work for the company are really good at sight reading, because you will often be given something you've never seen before and expected to perform it for a crowd.
Yes.
Yeah. So, it's challenging, but it's a lot of fun. My favorite is obviously like the little kids or, the
Mhm.
elderly people. It's horrible to say I love making them cry. No, they just some of the elderly folks when they request songs, it's so important to them and it's beautiful.
And I imagine most of those would be traditional arrangements to make it a little easier for people to jump into it, and with the older folks wanting more traditional
You would
music.
think so.
But
Um,
no.
no.
Wow, okay, that's I'm happy with that answer.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but I'm happy with the answer.
I would say a good 50%,
Okay.
even 60% of the stuff we have is traditional.
Mhm,
Um, but like we've got stuff like Charlie Brown's Christmas, um,
mhm.
Marshmallow World, like just random things that you wouldn't expect to hear that, you're like, oh yeah, I know that song, but there's a lot of like do 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 do's and you're like just staring at the page frantically, but it works in the end.
You keep it fun anyway, so that's good.
Yes, yeah, we absolutely keep it fun. We've got some real big hams in the group who just like they really have big personalities and it's fun to work with them.
Awesome. And now with your plan and your strategy,
Mm,
so I'm gonna kinda make some assumptions here. I do this a lot because I do start to see a lot of patterns with bands.
hmm.
So I'm curious, you did 3 singles
Yep.
and you lined it up so the end of the year you had your holiday one,
Uh-huh.
which you could definitely revisit next year and it ties in with the other stuff that you do. So that all makes sense. But I would think then you probably have plans to polish off a recording to release maybe in the spring, an EP or something, an album, maybe your debut album.
I am not ready to slow down yet. My
Okay.
next single comes January the 6th.
Wow. Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a single coming out. I mean, that one has been I've been working on that one for a long time, probably a year.
Okay.
So it's been coming down the pipes for a while. But it's called Singing to the Other Side. So I actually sang that one last year at CIOE. So it's been around for a while. So that one is finally going to have its release. It's got a lot of sentimental attachment for me.
Mhm.
It talks about like death and passing on and people on the other side. So I when I was young, I lost my brother to cancer.
Mhm.
So I'm releasing it on the anniversary of when he passed away.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So a grieving song.
Yeah, I mean it's grieving, but it's also kind of there's a little bit of hope to it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't post what I had for my like Spotify wrap up, and actually YouTube does one now.
Yeah.
So I was going through those, and last year I was really excited to share everything because I was kind of new into this stuff, and it was interesting to see where my volume of listening went.
Hmm.
But it's very spread out this past year because I did so many episodes. So
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't really think like my top 3 or top 5 things were really that relevant this year.
Sure.
But Spotify did notice I've had my own things that I went through outside of this in the past year, and it did notice that I listened to a lot of sad, moody, dramatic music with an
Darcy.
upbeat tempo. And I actually sent this to Andre. It had the full sentence of my wrap up about it being sad, dark, moody lyrics with an upbeat tempo and Andre Petitpas. It was a weird, it was a sentence to describe my musical taste in 2023. So
Sad but upbeat and Andre Petitpas.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
him as well. So that was the balance for the sad and dark apparently, so
easier happy place.
yeah, so I'm gonna have to find some balance in 2024 to balance out your first single. So is it do you must have more
I have more
planned
music
going
coming.
in?
Oh, I have so many adventures planned for next year. So
Excellent.
so not only do I have an EP coming in the spring, I've got
Mhm.
a song EP coming in the spring. I haven't picked a date yet, but that is in the works. The songs are written, the songs are already like I've got the guitar down for all of them. I've got like dry scratch vocals down for all of them. So I'm just kind of
Awesome.
working those out. Um, but yeah, so those are coming. But I've joined up with Jesse Patrick. So he's a singer,
Mhm.
and he was with Patrick and Daniels, and they had the Brothers in Groove, and they had a song that made it to college radio. So that song, um, kind of makes them eligible for certain things internationally because it was international college radio. So right now, we are kind of planning out tours for the US for 2024.
Excellent.
Exciting. So we're on the fence. We may or may not be able to get to Texas for March, but that's kind of what we're hoping. If we don't get to Texas for March, we are guaranteed, though, either way, to get to Atlanta, Georgia for August. So
I missed having Jesse on here once before. It was
yeah,
similar weather, different time of year,
yeah.
and they took off with Patrick and Daniels just after we missed the opportunity to meet up.
Yep.
So I was very excited to see that you were with them when we
Yeah.
ran into each other in the city.
Yeah.
So, that's exciting that you'll be
Oh,
collaborating
it's
more in the
nice.
future, and
Yeah,
I will
I've known Jesse for a few years, and he put a call out this fall. Actually, it was probably late summer, asking for people to join up to go on tour, and I was like, me.
yeah, that's
So
exciting.
yeah, so we've got so obviously Jesse, and we've got Tevin Tynes, and we've got Tyler Cox and Alex Bichette and Robert Campbell. So there's the six of us, and I'm the only girl. I am the girl,
You're
and
the only person from that lineup. I know every one of those names,
yeah,
but you're the only person from that whole list of names that's been on this podcast, so
I win.
you're the girl, not the only girl, you're the girl,
I'm the girl.
and you're the only one that's been on here, so you'll have to lord that over them.
I will
Maybe we'll have to have Jesse on in the new year some point.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure he'd love that. Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
So, before we run out of time for
Mm,
today, I definitely wanna have you back on to give us an update on where you are in the spring
yeah.
and hear what the plans are. So,
Mhm.
if anyone's waiting for that and it seems like it's taking forever, it means she had success and she took off. But I mean, with Zoom, maybe we could get both of you guys on a Zoom call at some
Oh,
point, end
absolutely,
up
yeah.
doing that too. But for today, we'll play off with your Christmas single, keeping
Yay!
in with the holiday theme.
Yeah.
So it's I Heard the Bells.
I heard the bells. Yeah.
And you said you tried to change it up a little bit?
Yeah, so the original song is called I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. And it's an old hymn. It's like 150 years old. And it does originally kind of talk about that idea of like I heard some Christmas bells, and and it reminded me of like peace and love and things. But then it was like I looked around and saw sadness, and then I heard the Christmas bells, and then I was happy again. And I was like, well, I mean, it's close.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I rewrote the words to most of the song,
Mhm.
and and kind of changed up the way that the melody is sung, and added in some xylophone, and yeah. So I've got Scott McDonald playing guitar on the track, and then I did everything else.
Oh, well,
Um,
there you go.
I mixed it, I mastered it. Yeah, so that's it's Saturn House Recordings. That's this. My younger kiddo, their lizard's name is Saturn. So
Okay.
this is Saturn's house. This is the Saturn House Recording Studio.
I think Mike Ryan from the Town Heroes, like, he was just on an episode recently, but it's Jupiter Sound Studios.
Okay. And is it
So
also named after a Saturn, after a lizard?
I think he's into sci-fi, but we'll have
Mm,
to. I never really dug into that, so
uh,
next
yeah,
time
it's
maybe
a
we'll
big
have both of you on an episode in the future, and you could talk about studios.
yeah.
There
I
we
love
go. Well,
absolutely.
thank you very much for your time,
Yeah, thanks.
and
Thanks for having
we'll
me. I
play
really
off with the single. But I definitely want you to have back on in the new year to talk about some of your originals.
yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks again.
Thanks, Darcy.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and mild and sweet their words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to all. But in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said, for hate is strong and mocks the song of peace on earth, goodwill to all. For in the cold our brethren sleep, the depths of sorrow ever deep, where tolls their bell in their earthly hell of peace on earth, goodwill to all. Then cried some